Okay, we're now recording. So let's just do a little review of contracts part one, and then let's get into contracts part two, contracts one, part two. So any questions before we begin? No? Okay, Jim Pio, what is the definition of a promise?
It's like um making an offer to somebody that you will give something to.
Promise
Something.
isn't really an offer. We need to be clear because offer is a very special kind of thing. So what's a promise? Anybody tell me?
Promise, it's a statement that says something will be done or will not be done in the future.
Okay, a statement. So it's not an offer. It's a statement. If I say, Junpyo, I promise to give you $10,000 or I promise to give you my bicycle, that's not an offer. I'm not making you an offer. I'm saying I'll give it to you. So it's a promise to give you something or to do something, right? It could be that I promise that I will buy your book. I will sell your book. I will take you to dinner. I will not tell anybody your secret, right? Just this idea that something will or won't happen in the future is a promise. So what's the difference between a promise and a contract, Crystal?
The legal responsibility, contract, the law give remedies to remedy.
Okay, good. So we have the idea of responsibility, also called duty. We have the idea of a remedy. Jody, what's a remedy? You should know this from torts. You just wrote a midterm in task E about remedies. What's a remedy?
Uh, Something you need to like repair.
That makes me concerned about your task E. Nicola, what's a remedy?
Uh, a remedy is you claim the remedy to repair the reparation of a breach of duty of care.
Okay. The reparation of a breach, that is true. Can somebody tell me an easier way to explain that?
Yeah, but my brain now is totally frozen.
It is the reparation of a breach, that is true. It's what you get if you win.
Yeah.
It's just what you get. You know, if I sue you and I win, I get a remedy. If you win, you get a remedy. It's what you get. What is it usually? Money. That's what it usually is. You know, but it doesn't have to be money. It could be you get that painting or you get me to not build that wall or whatever it is you get. But you get something. So with a promise, you don't necessarily get anything. If I say I promise to give you my bicycle, I don't have to. With a contract, you will get something if you win. Why? Because the other side has a responsibility. Both parties have a responsibility or a duty. Okay, we talked about two kinds of contracts, bilateral and unilateral. Jordan, what's the difference?
I don't really recall. Just give me a few seconds.
Yeah, Nicola?
Bilateral is a contract that is like two promise binding, and unilateral is one promise for one performance.
Okay, that is true. That's good. So can you tell me, with a bilateral contract, that's two promises, when does the contract become effective?
Effective.
When is there responsibilities?
When there is the I wrote here like Offer, acceptance, consideration, intention, and certainty.
Now that's what makes a valid contract. Let's say, for example, I say, Nicola, I will sell you 100 pounds of Colombian coffee for $1,000. Now you haven't said anything yet.
I see what you're
I
saying.
just said, I will sell you 100 pounds of this Colombian coffee for 1,000 US dollars paid to my Bank of America account. I'll give it to you on Monday at 3 p.m. I'll deliver it to your house. Everything's clear, but you haven't said anything yet. Do we have a
Yes.
contract?
No,
No. What do we have?
we have an offer.
Correct.
Your
So I've
offer,
made an offer to you, but we don't have
yes.
a contract yet. If you say, okay, now I made a promise to you.
Yes.
I'm going to give you this 100 pounds of Colombian coffee. And you've made a promise to me. You're going to pay me $1,000
Yes.
to my bank account. And I promise I'll give it to you this day at this time. We have all these details. I made a
Yes.
promise to you. You made a promise to me. Now,
Yes.
can you change your mind tomorrow?
No,
No.
because I accept your offer.
The second that you accepted, a contract was immediately formed.
Yes.
Now, let me change the example a little bit. And Nicola, you are an expert barista, someone who makes coffee. And I say, Nicola, I will pay you $100 for you to make a cup of this delicious, expensive Colombian coffee for me. And you say, okay, David, I promise I will make you that cup of coffee. I say, I'll pay you $100. You say, okay.
Okay.
Now, tomorrow, could one of us change our mind?
I think yes.
Probably.
Probably.
Because I promised you money if you do it. Now,
Yes.
the moment you begin to make it, we have a contract, right?
Yeah.
A unilateral contract does not become binding until the act is performed. I'm asking you to perform an act, to do something. And the moment you do it, we have a contract. Ploy, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Why is your camera off?
Sorry, I just woke up and I'm not properly okay to open the camera. Sorry.
Hilarious. Well, when you get properly okay to open the camera, please do so. Ploy, what's the difference between a void and a voidable contract?
A void is when the terms is not abide by the law, and a voidable contract means that you can each party can cancel the contract with like reasonable terms, I guess.
Sure, they can cancel the contract. I just say if they want. It's their
Yeah.
choice. You know, with a void contract, there is no contract. Like you said, because of the law, there just is no contract. If I make a contract to marry my sister, it's not a contract. There's no contract there. But if I make a contract to buy Colombian coffee and they send me Cuban coffee, well, if I like it, I could keep it. Okay. Tiffany, let's talk about an offer. What's the definition of an offer?
I think it's something that allows the one party to give something in exchange that could be an offering price, or it could be the details of the contract.
Okay. It's a little bit confusing, your answer. What is it, though, an offer? I mean, is it a question?
It's not a question.
So what is it?
It's something that leads to a contract if the other party accepts it.
Okay, I like that definition. Yeah, it's something. It's a statement. It could be a question. Hey, do you want to buy this bicycle for $1,000, 1,000 RMB right now? That's a question. So it could be a question, but it's just something that if you say yes, we have a contract right now. It's just something. And generally what we would say is it's a proposal, right? That's kind of the nice word in law for a something. It's a proposal. So, and if you, just like you said, if you say yes, then we have a contract. Now, this is, of course, an example of a bilateral contract. Because in a unilateral contract, I'm not asking you to say anything. I'm asking you to do it. And you would agree by doing it. In my example with Nicola, he would agree by making me the coffee. He doesn't need to say yes, right? If I go into a coffee shop and I say, hey, Nicola, could you make me a cup of coffee? He doesn't need to say, yes, David, I will. He just goes over and takes the coffee and starts making it. We have a contract. When you go to a restaurant, nobody says, yes, I will make you that food. Okay, Tiffany, what's the test for offer? First test. We have a couple of tests.
I forgot.
Okay,
I'm
Junpyo,
sorry.
tell me the test for offer.
Reasonable person test.
Okay, Tiffany, back to you. Tell me about the reasonable person test. Is it subjective or objective?
Subjective.
So what does that mean?
There's some factors that could vary depending on the circumstances.
Okay. So with this, that's good. With this offer, we have two people, right? We have the first party and the second party. When we're talking about this test, are we talking about what the first party thinks? This is the person who made the offer. Or are we talking about what the second party thinks? This is the person who accepted the offer.
It's probably the second person.
Correct. It's the second person. And the reason is, if I am the first person, of course, I'm making the offer. So I want to make an offer. I'm making the offer. If I didn't want to, I wouldn't do it. So it's not really about what I think. It's about what the other person thinks. This reasonable person test is a subjective test. Would the buyer believe that this was an offer? Okay, not the offerer, not the seller, but the offeree or the buyer. And now that's our first test. We had another test though, Jody. What was the, what I call it, the Lonergan v. Skolnick, fixed purpose test. What's the fixed purpose test? That's our second test.
Fixed purpose test. Whether the customer know that the contract for him.
Yes. So the second test is the fixed purpose test. And that says, does the customer or the buyer know that this contract is made to him or her and only him or her? It's not a contract to everybody. So if I said, Jody, I'm selling my new bicycle for $1,000, did I make it clear that I'm only offering it to you?
No.
No, I just said I'm selling it. And so you could not say, okay, David, I accept. Because I didn't make an offer to you. Even if my other terms were clear, even if I said I'm selling my bicycle for $1,000 paid to my Bank of America account, and it's this bicycle, and whoever has it, I will leave it at the front door of Donghua CIP. It doesn't matter because I didn't say I'll sell it to you. And we also have our Lefkowitz rule that an offer must be clear, definite, and precise. There can be no confusion. An offer must be 100% clear. Now, sometimes I might make a statement about price that is not entirely clear. Maybe it's not an offer. So, Crystal, if it's not an offer, then what is it?
Or invitation to treat.
Good. And what is the definition of an invitation to treat?
An offer to make an offer.
Good. And can you give me some examples of invitations to treat?
Maybe those advertisement we saw like in the internet, like the price are subject to change.
Sure. So it's an offer to make an offer. If you go onto a website and you see this shirt is $100, that's not necessarily the price. If you click on the shirt, they could have a discount, and today it's $80, or they could say, I'm sorry, due to demand, the price has increased. You see this on apps all the time. If you try to use Didi or Uber or Lyft or any of those things, the price, if they can have surge prices, it's called. When they're very busy, the price goes up. Because that's not an offer. They're telling you a possible price. And then you are making the offer to buy it at that price. If you go to an art gallery and there is a painting on the wall that says $100, that's not necessarily the price. That is a suggestion for you to make an offer, but it's you who's making the offer. Okay, anything else in offer? Not really. We talked about the Cortine seed case, but it's still an example of an invitation to treat. This is just an example of that. Counter offer was the other thing we did in offer. So what is a counter offer, Jordan? Do you remember? Jordan?
No, I don't remember.
Anybody? What's a counter offer?
A rejection.
It is a rejection. And what? A rejection and a thank you, a new offer. Okay, a counter offer is a rejection and a new offer. What's another word for counter offer? Negotiate. Like a negotiation. That's what it is. It's a counter offer. So if I say, hey, I'll sell you my bicycle for $100, and you say, well, how about 50? And I say no. Can you go back and take the 100? Amar, are you there? No, Amar. No, Amar. Stop playing with my emotions like that. You're so cruel. To a heart, that's true. Junpyo.
Hi.
Hi, Junpyo. If back to my example, I say I'll sell you my bicycle for $100, and you say, no, David, how about $50? And I say, no. Can you buy it for 100 then? Can you say, okay, I'll buy it for 100?
Sorry, can you repeat again?
I offer you my bicycle for $100. And you say, David, that's too expensive. How about 50? And I say, no. Can you say, okay, I'll give you 100?
Yeah, I think so.
No, you cannot. Crystal, please explain why he cannot do that. What
Because
happened?
if you negotiate, there is already a new contract, a new offer, I mean,
What was my first offer?
a rejection.
No, what was my first offer?
50.
800.
$100.
100.
Mhm.
Right, Junpyo? I offered you my bicycle for $100. Junpyo, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you accept my offer?
Not in the first time.
You didn't, right? I said $100 and you said no. What's that called?
Rejection.
Correct. Now, is there any offer?
I don't think so.
Correct. So once you reject somebody's offer, it's dead. It's gone. My offer is gone. You rejected it. Now, Junpyo, you made me an offer. What was your offer?
That I'll buy your bike in $50.
Did I accept it?
No.
It's gone. It's rejected. Now, is there any offer at all?
No.
No. You rejected my offer. I rejected your offer. Now there's no offer. I don't have to sell the bicycle to you at all. So this is what we need to know about negotiations. You can never go backwards. If you say no to someone's offer, it is rejected, it is gone, it's dead, you can't take it back. Now, Junpyo, what if you come into my store and I sell bicycles? And I say, Junpyo, I'm selling these bicycles for $100, and I will sell you a bicycle for $100. And you say, okay, David, that's great, but I want 3 bicycles for $300. Did you accept my offer?
But I think it's a different offer. Like buying
Right.
3 bikes.
I offered you 1 bicycle for $100. And you did not accept. So that's it, it's gone. Right? Anytime someone makes you an offer, you have 2 choices. You say yes or you say no, and that's it.
Sir, I have a question. Isn't it like about the rejection for the first time? When normal in the business, people like the first one you said like, I offer you $400 and I reject it, and I negotiate for 50. But normally in a business, if the second person reject the first person, and then it will, I mean like the first person wants to be, it's $100, right? Price.
You're talking about bargaining?
Yeah.
Well, isn't bargaining the same thing as negotiating?
Yeah, the same like before about the bike that you offered to Junpyo.
Yeah.
It means that you want to sell it with the $100, right? If so, Junpyo takes it with $100, it's okay. Something like that.
I'm a little confused. So I offered the bicycle for $100.
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
And you're saying what? That bargaining is normal?
No, no. I mean, like when you offer for $100 and Junpyo said, no, I don't want, I want to be $50. And you said also no. But Junpyo can take it for $100 again, right?
No.
But because that's normal in business, something like that.
We just made this point. So I offered to sell the bike to Junpyo for $100, right?
Yeah.
And Junpyo had 2 choices. He could say yes or he could say no. Those are his choices, correct? Now, if he says yes, we have a contract because I made him an offer. If he says no, my offer is gone. He rejected my offer. I made him an offer. He said no. That's it. Now, he says, David, I want to buy the bicycle for $50. He made me an offer. I have 2 choices. I say yes or I say no. If I say yes, we have a contract. If I say no, I have rejected his offer. Once you reject an offer, it's dead. You can never get it back.
Yeah, but I think the George's question is like he did the offer about the 50, And then he makes a second offer, like, can we can I buy it for 100? And if you say yes, is that an offer and acceptance?
Well, sure. If I say, let's say Junpyo asks to buy it for $50 and I say no.
Yeah.
And Junpyo says, well, how about I'll buy it for $100? Now he has made me a new offer for $100 and I can say yes.
And then there's a contract.
And then there's a contract, sure. You know, the point is just in business, bargaining or negotiating is very, very common. However, in the law, we need to be clear that, look, if we're talking about buying one bicycle or buying a cup or buying some coffee, it might not be a big deal. If you're talking about buying 10,000 tons of copper for $25 million, really, you have to be very careful about negotiations in the law. You have to understand when you're dealing with big things, if you reject an offer, you're making a decision to say no, and you're making a new offer. And that's important to be aware of. So we need to know counteroffers. Okay, and then we got to, that's everything for offers. Okay, so we have the tests. We have the definition of offer, the two tests, reasonable person and fixed purpose test. We also have the Lefkowitz rule, clear, definite, and precise. We also have things like invitation to treat and counter offers. And we also did learn about an option contract, but that'll come back again later. So I don't need to talk about that too much right now. Acceptance, we also did this. Tell me, whose iPhone Demeti? I'm gonna guess because that's
It's mine. My computer is not working right now.
okay. Mine is not the clearest
Sorry,
answer.
I'll change the name.
No, I just need to know who said mine.
Lota.
Sorry?
Lota? Carlota?
Oh, Carlotta. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I know Carlotta. I just am not familiar with mine. Okay. So, Carlotta, what's the definition of acceptance?
Acceptance?
Acceptance.
When someone agrees to something?
That's true. I was kind of looking for like a law definition, but yes, acceptance is when somebody agrees to something. The correct definition is a buyer's demonstration of agreement. That is, it's literally only 4 words. Okay, that's the definition I want. Aruni, what's the definition of acceptance?
By demonstration.
Of buyer's demonstration of agreement. Law is very specific, right? These words are the definition. It's not like that, it is that, those 4 words. Okay, Aruni, what's the test?
What test?
The test for acceptance. Ploy, what's the test? Oh, Ploy, your camera's on. Nice to see you. What's the test for acceptance? Ploy? Ploy, can you hear me?
I can't remember, sir.
Okay. Who can tell me? Crystal, what's the test for acceptance?
Fly on the wall.
Correct. The fly on the wall test. Is that subjective or objective?
Objective.
Good. So tell me a little, let's talk about this test for a moment. Tiffany, can you tell us a little about this test?
This is the agreement part of the contract, and it's saying that if a fly can agree to something, then it
Wait, the
will
fly is
do.
not agreeing to anything.
Oh,
We're not making a contract with a fly.
okay. Um, I meant that the acceptance has to be expressively um, communicated. It cannot be something like a silence, usually.
Okay. How can we
And
communicate acceptance?
saying yes to an offer, or if it's a unilateral agreement, then some action is performed.
Do you need to, if it's bilateral, do you need to verbally say the word yes?
Maybe, maybe not. Sometimes it's on paper. Sometimes it's also an action, I guess, but it's not
Well, I mean, it's
one-sided.
here in the definition. It's any demonstration. The definition is not buyer says yes. It's any demonstration. So 2 thumbs up could be a yes. Nodding could be a yes. Shaking hands you see all the time. If I say, okay, $100 and you shake my hand, that means yes, right? So it's any demonstration. It does not have to be spoken. Why? Because the fly on the wall can see it, right? The fly on the wall does not understand sarcasm. It doesn't understand when people are kidding or joking. It only understands what it sees or what it hears. It can speak every language, but it only understands what it sees and hears. So this is important. Why is this important? Why is it important that we have this fly on the wall? Nicola.
I would say it's a contract is something very difficult to. No, let me rephrase. It's like it's the meeting of the mind. So one person that doesn't know the another part is binding together by a piece of paper or agreement. So the society must to have like this in a trustful way. So the fly is like the protector of this beautiful agreement.
Okay. So what if this was a subjective test? What would happen? So imagine this is a subjective test and I make a contract with you. So I offer you, I will sell you 100 pounds of Colombian coffee for $1,000. And you say yes. Okay, so now we have a contract. And then after a month, I get the coffee together, I grind the coffee, I'm ready to send it. You could call me and you could say, oh, David, I was just kidding.
Yeah.
And
This
that's terrible for me.
yes.
You know what you could do, and this is what people did do before this test, you could make a deal with me. You say, David, I will buy the coffee. And then you go around to stores and you try to sell it. And if you get good deals, then you keep the contract with me. But if you can't sell it, then you would tell me, oh, David, I was just kidding. Now, for me, that's terrible because I'm getting the coffee together to send it to you. But you were never serious, right? And here it's written this way. A party could resist a claim by proving that he had not intended to be bound by the agreement. So one party can only act upon what the other party reveals objectively, right? This is unsatisfactory if it was subjective. One party has no way to know another's undisclosed intentions. I have no way to know what you're secretly planning, that you're going to try to sell the coffee, and if you can't, then you'll cancel the I didn't know you were going to do that. So now we changed it, or the law changed it, so it's no longer subjective. It's if you said yes, we have a contract, that's it. If you nodded your head or you shook my hand or whatever you did. So
it could be a written contract or just a yes, yes.
So some contracts need to be written. but not all contracts need to be written. This is something that some people asked about last week. So let me see where I put this. Here. I could write this up into a PPT, and maybe I'll do that for next class. But let's just very quickly, why do contracts need to be in writing? Let's talk about this for a minute. So basically, there are 5 reasons that contracts need to be in writing. Why isn't this giving me a number 5? 5. Okay, so why are contracts in writing? Well, people forget, right? That's a good reason to put a contract into writing, because you might forget. People disappear, right? If I make a contract with Nicola, and what if he's just gone? People lie to each other. People misunderstand each other. And then sometimes the law says that it has to be in writing. So the first 4, those are just common sense. Those are just good reasons to always write things down so you don't forget, so people don't lie, so they can't say they misunderstood. Those are just good reasons. Sorry, I just want to get something to cover my keyboard. But what are some of the legal reasons that you have to put things in writing? Well, this comes down to something called the Statute of Frauds, which started in 1677. And it says we don't want people to lie to each other. We don't want people to commit fraud, right? Fraud means to lie. So the government in England, and this now is the law in America too, says that some kind of contracts must be in writing. There's 6 contracts that have to be in writing no matter what. One of them is for land. If you're going to buy or sell land, real estate, that has to be in writing. Okay, it doesn't matter if the land is big or small. If you're buying or selling land, it has to be in writing by law. Number 2, when you're selling something over a certain amount of money. So for example, in California, in America, if it's more than $500, it has to be in writing. In New York, if it's more than $1,000, it has to be in writing. Now, if you and I are selling and buying something for $100, no, it doesn't have to be in writing. 500 does in some places. Each place has their own amount, but there's always an amount that has to be in writing. Number 3, marriage. Now, when we say marriage, what we usually mean is prenuptial. So a prenup, and sometimes you might have heard the word prenup. You see it in movies or TV shows. A prenuptial is, question? Hey, Amar, are you here?
Yes.
Amar, do you know what is a prenuptial contract?
Yeah, it's like when a woman and a husband, a wife or husband divorce, so their property, like maybe she has a land or something, they will take 50-50. It's like it's have to be in written. So
Okay,
maybe
so but wait, you're a little bit wrong.
it's
Pre,
like
what
maybe
does pre mean?
like
If
so she
only
doesn't
if
take
you
the
sign,
stuff from me if I have a land or something.
Okay.
but only if you sign. If you didn't sign, it cannot be.
Yeah.
So pre means before.
Yeah.
Like previous. Before, nuptial means marriage. This is a contract you make before you get married. And what it says is what I have before we're married belongs to me, even if we get divorced. And what you have before marriage belongs to you, even if we get divorced. And what we earn when we're together, we split.
Wait. But this is a contract. It's not like a kind of type of marriage.
No, there's no type of marriage. Marriage is marriage.
No. I mean, because in my marriage is this kind. So what I have before I have marriage and what my wife has before we are married, it's like kind of separate if we divorce.
That's a prenup.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I could marry with another kind of law. I don't know, that everything that we have even before we will split.
Sure, you just don't sign this prenuptial contract.
Just like David Beckham and Victoria did.
Lots of people, look at Jeff Bezos. He and his wife divorced. He gave her over $1 billion because they did not have a prenuptial contract. But in fact, that wouldn't have mattered because most of the money was made when they were married. But if I was very rich and I married a woman who was very poor, maybe you would ask them to sign a prenup, because who knows what happens if you get divorced. Now, prenuptials can be very sensitive between people, because when you talk about this as a lawyer with people, there's this, it implies maybe they'll get divorced. And of course, two people who are about to get married do not want to talk about divorce. That is the least romantic thing you could possibly talk about before you get married. But in the law, we have to. Now, there's another kind of prenuptial. What we think of is what Amar said, right? If we get divorced, I keep mine, you keep yours. But there's another kind, which is, imagine I say, okay, if you marry me, then I will give you this home, this house. I'll give it to you, only if we're married. Can I do that? Sure. Sure, I can. That's a contract where one party promises something of value to the other party on the condition that they become married. That's also a before marriage contract, but that's not something we talk about very much in television, or, usually we're talking about a contract with divorce. But any contract that's about marriage needs to be in writing, anything about marriage. Over 1 year, number 4. Any contract that takes longer than 1 year to complete. So it could be a mortgage. Like if I lend Jordan money, so Jordan, you want to start a big business and I lend you 100,000 RMB and you're going to pay me back in 2 years, or you'll pay me back every month and it's going to take 2 years, that has to be in writing because it's more than 1 year. So anything with a loan that's more than a year has to be in writing. Now, what happens if it's not in writing? Void. So be careful. These contracts have to be in writing, or else it is not enforceable. It is fraud. Next, suretyship. Now, suretyship is an old word in the law, but what it means is I agree to pay your debt. That's what it means. So let's say Jordan borrows money from me, and then Jordan, you can't pay me back. And so your best friend Jody is very, very rich. And Jody says, you know what, Jordan? I'll pay David. Now, you and Jordan and Jody sign a contract. Jody says, I promise, Jordan, I will pay your debt. And Jordan says, in return for this, I'll be your bodyguard. Now, Jordan is promised, that's a good contract, right? It's valuable. Jordan is going to do something valuable and Jody will pay good money for it. That is Jody's agreement to pay Jordan's debt, and therefore it has to be in writing. Now, what if Jordan became sick for a week and he said, Nicola, I need you to be Jody's bodyguard for this week. Now, Nicola agrees and you sign an agreement. You are agreeing to take his duties. That also needs to be in writing. To pay someone's debt or to take their duties, that's called suretyship, and that needs to be in writing. And the final one, number 6, an executor paying a decedent's debt. Decedent means somebody who died. An executor is the person you choose to handle your money after you die. So usually this is in a will. So let's say that I make a will, and my will says, if I die, I want my best friend Tiffany to handle my estate. So that means when I die, she's going to have to sell my house. It doesn't have to be your family. It could be anybody you want. And so she's going to have, as long as you agree, I can't make you, but as long as she agrees, she'll be in charge of selling my house, having an auction, dealing with my bank accounts. She's also going to have to maybe pay my debt, not with her money. You know, you don't have to spend any money. But let's say that I die and I owe money to Jordan. I owe him $10,000 for his services. I haven't paid him yet. Now, it is Tiffany's responsibility to take the money from my bank account to pay Jordan. That kind of thing has to be in writing. I can't really tell you why. It's just I'm gone, so it has to be in writing. There are a couple of others, like contracts that last longer than the life of the party performing the contract, but typically it's these 6. And I
Sir,
can
I
put
have
this up online. Anything other than that?
I have a question
Uh,
about the
Yeah, sorry.
what in case the deceased didn't write any will and he has a kid or
The
family.
executor becomes your family.
Okay.
Usually
But
your spouse, your husband or wife. If you don't have a husband or wife, your mother or father. If your mother and father are not living, then the nearest living relative.
yeah, that's in my culture also like that.
Yeah. Now, when we say it has to be in writing, what does that mean? So it has to identify the parties. It has to talk about what is being sold or bought, the subject matter, the terms and conditions, the consideration, and the signature of the party who's being sued. Right? It has to be the person being sued, not the person who's suing. Oh, if it violates the statute of fraud, sorry, it will be voidable, not void. And I'll put this up online in the content section in case you want to look at it. Any question about that? So generally speaking, contracts do need to be in writing, but not all of them. Or generally speaking, sorry, they don't need to be in writing, just those ones that do. Okay, so we have the definition of acceptance, the test for acceptance. We also have a couple of additional rules. Jody, what is the mirror rule? No? What's the mirror rule,
No,
Carlotta? Carlotta? No.
Can I answer?
Yes, please.
I think an acceptance must an acceptance must match the term of the offer exactly.
Good. So acceptance must match the offer. You can't change anything. We also talked about the postal rule. What's the postal rule? This is taking a long time, but we will not review everything next week. Junpyo, what's the postal rule?
I do remember the mirror rule, but I don't remember the postal rule.
Isaac, are you there?
Yep.
Okay, Isaac, what's the postal rule?
I remember the postal rule being sort of like the timing between when the letters were being, like when the contracts were being emailed, not mailed by letter, the time that.
What do you mean the letter? We have to be clear. We have an offer and we have an acceptance so far.
Right.
So are you talking about the offer or the acceptance?
I'm talking about the timing between would just be cut off and wouldn't exist.
But the time between what?
Between the party receiving the offer or the acceptance.
Yeah, well, which one? They're totally different things. It's not just or.
Okay, so it's when it's the time between the party receiving the acceptance.
Yes. Also, your camera is off. Turn it on if you can. So acceptance, it's about the acceptance. It's the time between when the acceptance is put in the mailbox and when it is received. Doesn't exist. Another way to say this, as soon as you put a letter in the mailbox, As soon as you put an acceptance letter in the mailbox, it has been received. Aruni, can you explain this to me?
If it's in the mailbox, then it is received.
If what is in the mailbox?
The mail, the letter, I mean.
What letter?
The acceptance letter.
Confusing, this true.
This is not confusing. This is clear, an acceptance letter. You guys should be taking notes. That's why you are confused, because you are not taking notes. Of course, it's confusing if you don't take notes and review.
Right.
And if this was class in person, I would be walking around the desk and making you take notes. I can't make you take notes right now. Maybe next semester I should. Maybe next week I should. I bet I could make
I
you
remember
take
that
notes.
one, sir.
Jody, what?
Yeah. So what was your question?
I didn't ask one.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, like when the acceptance is like when the people accept to put the mail in the mailbox, even the address is wrong or even it is late, the acceptance is made.
Yes.
Like that, right?
Yep. Even if it's wrong,
I
even
thought
if
it
it
was
gets
a
lost, there is a contract. As soon as the buyer puts the acceptance letter in the mail, okay, not fax or email, that's wrong. As soon as the buyer puts the acceptance letter in the mail, he has accepted the offer and the contract is formed. Okay, this is the key idea here. Why do we have this rule?
To protect the buyer.
Good, to protect the buyer. Aruni, why do we want to protect the buyer?
Because like sometimes when the letter already sent and the other party doesn't want it. So to protect buyer.
I mean,
Power.
you know, you're kind of on the right track, but can somebody help explain why not protect the seller?
Because the seller has power.
Yeah, that's right. Because the seller has power. And we don't need to protect the person with power. We need to protect the person without power. That's why we protect the buyer. So is this, Aruni, is this what they use in China? I'm going to pick on you for a while. Is this what they use in China?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nope.
In England and other common law countries. Is China a common law country?
No. Civil
What is China?
Civil law.
Good. So in China, we use the receipt theory, and that says there is no contract until the acceptance is received. Okay, a contract is not formed until the acceptance is actually received. Okay, and then the final thing we talked about last week was the battle of the forms. What's battle of the forms mean? Who can tell me battle of the forms? Carlotta, you still there?
Yes.
Okay. What's the battle of the forms?
When someone hasn't understood the contract correctly, so lawyers discuss what it actually means to like defend their
Sort
side.
of. It's not that people didn't understand the contract. It's that your contract and my contract are different. Why might they be different?
Because maybe you're a buyer and I'm a...
It's not because we're buyers and sellers. Nicola,
Okay.
why might our contracts be different?
Sometimes there is a major change between my mm, sort of point of view of the contract as a seller, and there is also buyer point of view. So it's kind of
I mean, it could be. That's what Carlotta said. And that's true. It could
yeah.
be that you have a contract as a buyer. I have a contract as a seller. They're different. Usually what happens is it's because people downloaded them from the internet.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens. Most people don't write their own contracts. Most people just download them from the internet. And then you end up with things that are a little different in your contract or in my contract. Or maybe you got it from a friend who does business in, Brazil. And I got it from a friend who does business in America. And yeah, they're just different. Usually it's not because you wrote it and I wrote it. It could be. But what you need to know mostly about this is this minor versus major change. If there's a minor change, if your contract and my contract are just a little bit different, then it's still okay. But if your contract and my contract are very different, then it becomes a counter offer. And that's really what you need to know. Okay, that was a long review. Now, we started last week talking about consideration. We got to our third part. Let us continue. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Contracts 1, part 2.
Okay, good. And Aruni, if you're going to play with your phone, hold it below the camera so that I can't see it. What's the definition of consideration, Aruni?
I don't know.
What's the definition, Jody?
The price paid for a promise.
Correct. Okay, the price paid for a promise. And the test, very simple. What did the parties give each other? Aruni, what's the test?
What the party give each other.
Good. And Crystal, can you explain this sentence to me? Consideration must be sufficient but need not be adequate.
That means what you exchange must be variable to the party, and but not necessary to be equal.
Good, nice explanation. So whatever you exchange, if I like Nicola's headphones and I want to pay him, I want to give him my new Mercedes car for his headphones. Could I do that? Would that be okay in contract law?
Yes.
Sure, because his headphones are valuable to me and the Mercedes is valuable to him. They're not equal, but that doesn't matter. Equality doesn't matter for this. It just matters they're both valuable, right? It could be any reason that I think it's valuable. And then we started last week talking about these four, and that's pretty much where we stopped last week. So part payment is not good consideration. Can somebody explain that to me? What does that mean? Jordan, can you explain? What does that mean? Part payment is not good consideration.
I wasn't attending the class last week.
Okay, but there is many videos about this. Tiffany, can you explain?
I'm guessing the price is not valued at the same.
Oh, I don't love the I'm guessing thing. Can anybody explain it to me who's not guessing? No?
I think it's related to the sufficient valuable. Part of payment is not sufficient valuable for one of the parties.
Yeah, I mean, part payment, we talked about this last week. And it's this idea that if I owe you money, if I owe you $50, and you accept $25, do I still owe you the rest of the money?
No.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Why no? Why would you say no?
no, because I remember something that you don't owe me, but I don't remember.
Well, what I said is if
Like it,
something other than money is provided. So what if I owe you $50, okay?
mhm.
And I love those headphones. Now I owe you $50 and I say, listen, man, if you give me those headphones, then or sorry, you owe me $50. So you have to pay me $50. And I say, but Nicola, I love those headphones. If you give me those, I'll forgive your debt. Now, what if those headphones are really cheap? You got them for $5. Now, I love those headphones. And I said, if you give me the headphones, are you required to give me those headphones?
Required?
Required by law.
No.
No. What are you required to give me?
$50.
Right. That's what you're required to give me. Now, if I say I'll take those headphones instead, could you say, no way, man, I love these. I'll give you the 50.
Yes.
Sure, absolutely. Maybe those headphones are worth $300. Maybe those headphones are from your grandmother. I don't know. You don't have to give them to me. I'm just saying, if you do, I'll forgive your debt. Now, what if those headphones are cheap? They're only worth $25, but you give me the headphones. Now, do you have to give me any more money?
Yeah, this is my doubt. Like, if I say to you, what about like this, David? I don't have the 50. I don't know when I will have it. I know that I have to give you the money, so I have 40 now. That's all that I have, and I will give to you now. And I have no debt with you.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
Do you owe me the money now? Did you promise to pay me today?
No.
Okay. So you
now
promised to pay me. Now, because this matters. If you promise to pay me on January 1st, 2021, and you say, David, I have $40 right now. I can give it to you right now. And I say, you know what, Nicola, if you give me $40 right now, we're cool. We're even.
Okay.
So you give me the money right now. You have given me the money at an earlier date than required. You were required to give it to me on January 1st. You gave it to me at an earlier date, and I said, I'll forgive the rest of the money. Now, that $40, that's everything. I cannot get the rest. But if we did not plan when, and you give me 40 today, then I still get my extra $10. Now, if I say I'll take the headphones and you say, okay, man, here, they're cheap, here are the headphones. Now we're done. I said I would take the headphones instead of $50, and you have given me the headphones. You've given me something other than money. What if I said I want a hug? I'm really lonely these days. I don't know a lot of people.
Okay.
I know you owe me $50, but if you give me a hug, I will forgive your money. Is that okay?
I think so.
No.
No? What's
No.
valuable for you? My hug. I hug, like the Brad Pitt.
Okay. What if I made the same deal? But
I just hugged the Brad Pitt. So
what if I made the same deal, but I asked Crystal for a kiss? Would that be okay?
No.
No. Touching is never valuable in the law.
Okay.
Whatever it is, it doesn't matter if it's me hugging you, or it makes no difference how far we're talking. It doesn't matter. Touching is never valuable. So
Okay.
part payment is this idea that if you owe me money, you owe me that money. The only way that we can get rid of this in terms of consideration is if you give me something other than money, like the headphones, or if you give me the money earlier. Those are the two ways that we can use money that you already owe me as consideration. The second rule we said was past consideration is no consideration. And this was the example I gave with you found my dog and you give me the dog and then I promise to pay you money. What's the problem with that? There's no new consideration. Consideration must be present or future. That you say, I will give you this now if you give me that now or in the future. But I can't make a promise to you in the past, right? It's not possible. I can't say I promise yesterday I'll sell you coffee. So consideration has to be present or future. Third rule, forbearance can be consideration. Now, I don't think we really got into forbearance. That's where we start today. And I know we did a long review, so we'll take a break pretty soon. But let's talk a little about forbearance, because you need to know this word. This will definitely be on the final exam. Forbearance is an agreement not to do something. So what does that mean, an agreement not to do something? What am I agreeing to not do? Well, the most common one is I agree to not sue you. Amar, can you think of a situation where somebody might promise to not sue somebody?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Can you think of a situation where someone might promise to not sue someone?
Like for example, like family, like cousins or something, like maybe he got hurt by you by accident and like you take him to hospital or something and he will say he will not sue you, but later he can sue you, like in the grounds of his house. Because
I'm
like
not
maybe
sure I
his
understand,
tools,
but it sounds like you're just talking about the duty to rescue.
it's not like kind of duty of rescue, it's like it was his fault, like he didn't warn us or something about it.
I would need more specifics to understand the example.
Is it this kind of disclosure? Yeah, I know,
So
like
the
I
most
work
common
for you.
situation, sorry?
No, like I work for you, and we have this kind of agreement that everything that you do here in the company, you cannot disclosure. You cannot say,
So you're talking about confidentiality.
Yes. Is
Okay.
it a kind of
Yes.
That's also
Confidentiality is a common example of forbearance, right? You sign a contract. So let's say that you're going to come and work at my store. And my store is the #1 coffee shop in Shanghai. And we have a special way of making coffee, and it's absolutely delicious. Everybody wants to know how we make our coffee so good. But I have my own secret way. I invented this machine that makes the coffee so good. And you come and work, and I say, okay, you can work here, but you need to sign this, what we call is an NDA, is usually what it's called.
But you still
NDA.
can have a whistleblower.
Whistleblower is a different thing. I'll explain that in a second. NDA, non-disclosure agreement. It's an agreement where you promise you will not tell anybody what you learned. You will not disclose. Non-disclosure agreement. You could also call it a confidentiality agreement. And you sign this and it says, if you come work for me, you can't tell anybody what you've learned. And if you do, I can sue you. Now that's obviously kind of a silly example. What's much more common is, let's say that I run a school. Okay, I run an English teaching school, and Crystal gets a job teaching English for me. Now, Crystal, I have a whole list of customers, of course, all these students at my school. And every semester we contact them to see if they want to take a class. Sometimes we have a special fun class like watching a movie on Saturday or talking about the Oscars or whatever. And then we contact all of these students. This list of names is valuable. Now, Crystal, you recently were talking to someone else, to Jordan, and Jordan is opening a school and he wants to hire you. And he said, hey, Crystal, I'd like to hire you, but can you bring that list of names from David's school? Crystal, can you?
Unless there's a contract saying that I cannot disclose. No.
So unless, now, of course, you can't steal them from me, right? You can't secretly go into my office at lunch and take them out of a drawer. You can't do that. But if your job, let's say you're not a teacher, you're an administrator, and your job is you have that list on the computer. Now, if I want to protect that list, I would have you sign a contract, very simple, saying, you know, part of the contract just says you cannot disclose this list to anybody else. It belongs to me. It's my private property. If I didn't say that, that's my fault. I need this confidentiality clause, this NDA that says you cannot disclose this to anybody else.
Sorry, David, is this include like information like for corruption and everything? If people tell you, please don't tell anyone that like are involved in the corruption, is it considered illegal?
No, because that's an illegal contract. If I broke the law, let's say I stole money from a bank, and then I say, Crystal, I stole this money from a bank. Just, you know, please sign this saying you won't tell anybody, and you sign it. I say, listen, I'll pay you $1,000. Just don't tell anybody. You say, okay, you take the money, you sign the name. You have just made an illegal contract.
Even like corruption.
What, like I'm making a contract with you that will both steal money from the government?
No, I mean, you pay the government to have like contracts, and I'm not involved in it, but I know I'm working for you, and I know that you get contracts because of corruption, because you are paying someone in the government.
The only thing we're talking about here is, did I ask you to sign something saying you won't tell?
Okay. Yeah.
That's illegal. I can't ask you to sign something saying that you won't tell, because that's illegal. Because now you are, and this is in criminal law, you're an accessory after the fact. If I tell you that I commit a crime, you are now part of my crime. And that's called an accessory after the fact. If I tell you I'm going to commit a crime, then you're an accessory before the fact. But either way, you have a responsibility to tell the police. Unless you have a relationship that has a confidentiality implied. I'm a lawyer. If you tell me that you robbed a bank, I don't have to tell the police if I'm your lawyer. If you tell a doctor, a lawyer, or a priest, those are the three. They don't have to tell the police. Everybody else does.
Sir,
But
how
I
about
have to.
yeah, I'm gonna rob a bank.
Okay.
Like
I don't think you
before
should.
they committed the crime, they tell them.
The lawyer or the doctor or the
lawyer,
priest?
yeah. No, the lawyer.
Okay. So I'm your lawyer and you say, David, tomorrow I'm going to rob a bank. If I think violence or harm could come to anybody, including yourself, I have to tell the police. But if you said, David, I'm going to cheat on my taxes, I don't have to, because you're not going to get physically hurt by that.
Yeah.
Nobody could get physically hurt. I need to protect the public. So if you're telling me you're going to do something that might hurt people, I have a responsibility because it's not just about you.
True.
So forbearance is a promise not to do something. Here's a common example, sort of. I'm a talented barber. I'm good at cutting Chinese girls' hair. I work at the Happy Face Barber Shop, and I've worked there for 10 years, and I'm popular. 2 years ago, my boss told me if I promised never to work for anyone else, he'd give me a check every month for the rest of my life. For 2 years, I was receiving those checks, And I'm not working for anybody else, but the checks have stopped. And the boss now says they were just a gift. Ploy, were they just a gift? Ploy, what do you think?
I think it can be considered as a gift.
Well, Ploy, let's go through this. The test for offer is a subjective test, right?
Yeah.
What did the boss offer me?
Let me read again. The gift is the check that he'll receive every month.
For the rest of my life, right? That's what the boss offered me. Now, I am the offeree, right? He's the offerer, I'm the offeree. He offered it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Can a reasonable person in my position think that the boss is making me an offer? The boss said, if you don't work for anybody else, he'll give me this check. Is it reasonable for me to believe he's going to now give me this check if I don't work for anybody else? Is that reasonable?
It is reasonable because he had worked at the place for only 10 years already, and then like, it's reasonable.
It's reasonable. I worked there for 10 years. He knows how valuable I am, and he knows that if I open up a shop and start working for someone else, he's going to lose a lot of business, maybe. So he's going to pay me this money. Now, acceptance. Did I demonstrate through my words and actions that I accept this offer?
Yes, because after he received those checks, he still doesn't go to work for anyone else.
Correct. I didn't go to work for anybody else. I took the check, I brought it to the bank, I got the money. I mean, this is me demonstrating that I agree. Consideration. What the boss is giving me is money. That's valuable. What am I giving the boss?
Trust?
Sure.
Not trust, but like...
I'm giving the boss a promise.
Yeah, a promise that he will not work for anyone else at all.
Is that valuable to the boss?
Yes, because maybe he has the skills and the name to, and his name. If he works another place, the customers will go there instead of coming to a happy place.
And therefore, there is a contract. Okay, this is the classic example of forbearance. Now, in this case, Langer versus Superior Steel, it wasn't about cutting hair. It was about this person, Mr. Langer. He worked for a steel company, and he was a metallurgist, which is like a chemist for steel. And he actually figured out a way to make very, very strong steel. Now, he worked there for many years. He worked there, for many years, and then he wanted to quit. And the defendant, who was the president of this company, said, listen, what you know is very valuable. I don't want you to work for anybody else. Because if he works for anybody else, then they will know how to make this very strong steel. And so Mr. Langer said, okay, I won't work for anybody else. They paid him for 4 years and then they stopped. Aruni, did they have to continue paying him?
They paid for 4 years and then they stopped.
That's true. Did they have to continue paying him?
What?
Do they have to pay him for the rest of his life?
Should. They should.
Yes. Yes. Good. So this is forbearance, right? Did Mr. Langer have the right to work for someone else? Sure. He had the right to. He was giving up his right. Was this valuable? Very valuable, because he knew something about making very strong steel. They didn't want him to work for somebody else. Okay, forbearance is really important.
David, just a quick question. So if Mr. Langer goes to, I'm thinking about the viability of the contract. So if Mr. Langer decides to work for another place, another company, can the defendant sue him like, no, you cannot work?
It
I mean,
depends what their contract said. If their contract said, if you don't work for anybody else, we'll pay you every month. If that's it, well then if he works for someone else, he does not get that payment every month, but no, they can't sue him.
I see.
However, if the contract said, here's the deal, if you don't work for anybody else, we'll pay you, but if you break this, now you have to pay us $1 million. They could have. They could have said that. They didn't.
Sir, it's like forbearance must be like an exchange between promises between both parties.
Yes, but one is a promise to do something like pay you money, and another is a promise that I won't do something, like I won't work for somebody else.
It's not legal for one promise only.
No.
Okay.
A promise is just a promise. As my old and rich wife lays dying, she says that she wants me to have her beautiful house. And this is not in her will. I hope everybody understands what is a will. But two of her friends are standing there and they hear my wife say it. So the friends want to respect my wife's wishes, so they tell me, okay, David, you can live in her house for the rest of your life, but you need to pay $1 a year and just keep it clean and good condition. I agree. Years later, one of the friends dies and the other friend tries to kick me out of the house. And I say, hey, there's a contract between him and me. As long as I live in the house, I can, as long as I want, as long as I pay $1 a year and keep it clean and in good condition. Do we have a contract? Isaac, what do you think? Isaac, do you understand what a will is?
So it's when someone passes away and what they leave behind, what valuable possessions they leave behind.
Sure. It's a document or a piece of paper that says when you pass away, who are you going to give your things to? So she did not say she was going to give the house to me, but she said it and witnesses heard it. So here's the contract. They said they will let me live in the house. I pay $1 a year and keep it clean and in good condition. And I say, okay. Do we have a valid contract?
I believe so, yes.
Well, why? What did they offer me?
Well, they offered you shelter at the house.
Okay, and that's definitely valuable, right? Renting a house is expensive.
Correct.
So they offered me, free rent. That's great. Now, what did I offer to give them? What was my consideration?
It was $1 per year.
Is that valuable?
Nope.
Nope, not really. What about keeping it clean and in good condition? Is that valuable?
I think so.
I'd say it is, because if you're doing housework, so you can live.
Maybe housework. Jordan, why do you think it's valuable?
It's valuable because you're going to invest in this house. In case some damages in the house, you have to repair.
Yeah, absolutely. I might have to fix the roof. I might have to fix the heat. I might have to fix the electricity, water damage. It can be really, really expensive to take care of a house. Absolutely. Yes. Now, they didn't realize that when they said this. They thought they were, they were being smart and they were giving me no consideration, but actually good condition is consideration, right? The facts are the same. We're in 1842 and they said you can live in this house for $1 a year and just keep the house in good repair. That's what they said. But that is very valuable. Keeping a house in good repair could be very expensive. I met this girl when I was on vacation last year, and we spent a lot of time together. And, well, recently she called and said she's pregnant, and I'm the father. She said she's going to take me to court to make me pay her medical costs since I'm the father. And I say, listen, I promise I'll pay your medical costs. Just don't take me to court. So she agrees. I start to pay her medical costs, but privately, I take a blood test and I find out I'm not the father. And I say, listen, I'm not going to pay you. And she says, you have to pay me. Do I have to pay her?
No, because she lied.
Oh, she did lie. That is true. Let's talk about offer, acceptance, and consideration. Who made the offer, me or her?
I made the offer. Like
Well,
him.
not you. You are not a girl I met when I was on vacation last year. So
Like
who
the
made the
guy made
offer,
the offer.
me or this girl?
The girl made the offer and I accepted. Like the guy accepted it.
Okay. So what did the girl promise to give to the guy?
His child.
Not to.
Oh, the girl did. Yeah. She didn't promise to give a child. Jordan, what did she promise to give?
She promised not to report him to the police.
Well, it's not the police, but it's the court.
To sue him.
Yeah, she promised not to sue him, right? Not to take him to court. Why did he not want to go to court? Well, who knows? Maybe he already had a family and he didn't want to go to court, you know? Maybe he was a politician, you know, and he didn't want this in the news. Maybe he was a celebrity, who knows? You know, but he didn't want to go to court. So what did she promise to give him in one word? Starts with an F.
Forbearance.
Correct.
Forbearance.
Yeah. So that's what she promised to give him, is forbearance. She promised, I won't take you to court. I won't sue you. What did he promise to give her?
To pay her expense.
Okay, so is the money valuable? Yes, definitely. Yes. What about her promise? I won't take you to court. Was that valuable to him?
To him, yeah.
Okay, so both things are valuable. Now, at the time when he made this agreement, did he believe that he could be the father?
Yeah, or he was not gonna go to court.
Yes.
Therefore, they have a contract.
Mm-hmm.
Does it matter that he wasn't the father? No. The same way it doesn't matter if you give me the dog and then I promise to pay you. He should have checked. Right? This is called after the fact circumstances. He found out something after the fact. But both parties believed it to be legitimate. Now, what if, for example, I met a girl on vacation? And we hugged once. And then she called me and said, David, I'm pregnant. And I said, oh my God, don't take me to court, because I'm very naive and I don't know how babies are made. And I said, please don't take me to court. And I promised to pay her. Now, do we have a contract? No, because there's no way I could have legitimately believed that I was the father of that child. But in this case, he believed it. You know, this is actually very similar to, let's say I make that contract with Nicola to sell him coffee. Let's go back to that contract. So Nicola, I'm going to sell you coffee. Okay, 100 pounds of coffee for $1,000. You get the coffee, and then you go to all the stores in Shanghai, and nobody wants to buy it. So you call me up and you say, David, I was wrong. I thought people wanted it, but I was wrong. So now I want my money back. Did you believe you could sell the coffee when we made the contract?
Yes.
That's all that matters. If that didn't matter, then everybody would take back the contract every time they were wrong about something. It doesn't matter if you were right or wrong. It matters what you believed when you made the contract.
Even if you said to me like, oh, this coffee is very easy to send, you know.
It depends if that's something people say. Hey, this coffee is delicious. I mean, come on, that's not really a lie. Now, if I said this coffee has a grade of A+ from the Colombian Coffee Commission of the government, but it doesn't, it has a C. That's a lie.
I see.
That's different. I'm lying to you. I'm not just being a salesperson. I'm lying.
Sir, I have a question. Like, in this case, when the girl is lying, can I link that into like breaking the chain or intervening act when she's lying?
No, because this isn't a tort.
Yeah, I know it's not a tort, but can I link or no? That's not an intervening act.
Well, let's talk about the damage. So let's talk about but for. So but for, except for you and this girl, engaged in premarital relationships, then there would be no chance to have a baby, which is true, right? If you didn't touch each other, you couldn't have a baby. So you're part of this chain. And she didn't do anything to break the chain except that she lied to you about it. But the problem isn't that she lied. The problem is it could have been the truth. And you could have checked. And if you didn't check, that's your decision. It was reasonable for you to believe this. Now, here's the other problem. We don't know if she was lying. Maybe she believed you were the father. If you ask her, what is she going to say? Oh, I thought Jody was the father. So you can't prove that she was lying. Okay, let's take a break now. Let's take a 10-minute break, and then we will come back and continue with contracts.
Send here a message. Let's see.
There he is.
Okay.
Hey, Jody. Okay, we're recording again. I will give you guys more information on it next week. But, you asked an interesting question there, Jody. Let me see. Let me stop sharing for a sec. So you asked an interesting question there about the but-for test and the chain of causation. So I was looking at that during the break, and I'll put this into an easier form. This is what I found in 10 minutes, but I'll put it into an easier form to understand next time. But there is a tort called deceit, and deceit is the tort of lying, right? So the rules for the tort, and so in this case, the man who sued the woman, instead of suing her for breach of contract, he could have sued her for the tort of deceit. And this says that she made a factual representation. She said, you are the father, knowing that it was false, or being indifferent about its veracity, not caring if it was false, intending that the man would rely on it, and then he does rely on it to his detriment. And this comes from 1789, from a case called Paisley versus Freeman, where someone was asked for a credit reference in 1789, and they lied about it, and the court gave them a judgment. And there's some other information about negligence that I'll put together. But you make an interesting point there that, yes, he could have sued her for torts. And if he sued her for torts, for the tort of lying, deceit, then, so for example, in California, just going back to this for a second, in California right now, there are 4 possible kinds of deceit. There's intentional misrepresentation, which is saying something you know is not true. There's negligent misrepresentation, which is saying something that you're careless, you should check, like, is this his baby? There's concealment, which is suppressing a fact, making sure somebody doesn't find out. Or there's false promise, which is a promise that you make knowing you're not going to do it. Now, there's a rule for all of these, which is pretty true, which is you need three things. You need a lie. You need knowledge that it was a lie or negligence. You need, and here's the problem, intent. That's the problem here. If I was, or if you were the lawyer for this man who wants to sue this woman, can you prove that she knew she was lying? That she knew you were not the father? Can you prove that she knew you were not the father and she
If
lied
not,
to you anyway?
yes, she's lying.
How would you prove that?
With the
How
blood
would you
test.
prove that she did it on purpose? How would you prove that she didn't believe you could be the father?
Yeah, that was my question about what if the girl does not know about the baby? I mean, like the baby was from which father, like that.
Well,
But
but she
she's supposed
believed
to
it's
know about it.
possible that it's yours.
Yeah. But
You're
that
never
is
going to be
hard.
able to prove she was lying unless you found an email or a recording or something where she said to her other boyfriend, hey, let's lie to Jody. Unless you found that, you're never going to prove it. And that's why her lawyer said, don't try to sue for the tort of deceit. You're never going to win. Try to sue for breach of contract. Similar case. I meet a special girl in China, and I promise her a lot of money if she becomes my girlfriend. We sign a contract, and I write down that I will pay her 100,000 RMB. In exchange, she will give me 1 RMB and other valuable services. So recently, I lost all my money, and my girlfriend sues me in court to get the 100,000. Will she win? Tiffany, will she win?
That's not a value. I mean, that's not an effective contract.
Well, what did I promise to give her?
Money,
Is that valuable?
a lot of. Yes, it is. But she also promises to give 1 RMB.
What did 1 RMB, 1 anything is not valuable in the law. $1, 1
Yeah.
RMB, 1 yen, none of that is valuable. So what did she promise to give me, and is it valuable in the
To be your
law?
girlfriend? To be your girlfriend?
Okay, but we all know what we're talking
Service.
about. Yeah, I mean, service is a nice way to say it. We all know what we're talking about here. Is that valuable in
Yeah.
the law?
Yeah, it's valuable. Yeah.
It is not. Remember the example I just gave before. If
The
I
hug
wanted
one.
to make a contract with Nicola to give him a hug, that's not valuable. Touching is never valuable in the law. And so in this case, Inri Green, the facts are the same. And she went to court and she said, you know, and it's a funny case if you read it, because she said to the judge, no, I promised I would clean and I would cook sometimes. And, you know, I'd be his girlfriend. And the judge said, listen, we all know what you're talking about. We all know what other valuable consideration means. You know, no, that is not consideration. $1 or 1 RMB or 1 anything is called nominal. Because what that means is it's consideration only in name. You know, like I'm going to give my son a car for $1. That's not a contract. You know, I'm just trying to be tricky about this because I don't want to pay taxes. So instead of giving him a gift, I make it a contract. You can't do that. So it has to be something valuable. Now, here's
sorry to interrupt you. So like women that sell services of this kind of service cannot have a kind of work contract?
Not in places where prostitution is illegal.
Okay.
There are places in the world where it's legal. And in those places, it's like having a contract to, you know, buy marijuana. You could have that contract in some places in America. Other places you couldn't. You know, most places prostitution is illegal. And I know it's legal in, is it Denmark or Holland? Maybe it's Holland.
Maybe Holland. Maybe Holland. I think.
I mean, I think Holland. Maybe there are other places in the world. I don't know. This is
Yeah.
nothing. I've never
I
researched
think
this,
I think in Brazil it's like the prostitution is per se is not illegal, but if someone explore the prostitution, so that is illegal.
I
Like
don't think you mean explore. I think you mean exploit.
yeah. It's
Okay, let's move on to another rule called the pre-existing duty rule. Now, this is similar to something we saw before called part payment. But the idea is if you have a responsibility to do something, then that's not good consideration. Now, you remember in one of the quizzes, I said, what if I promise that I'll give you an A if you give me a lot of money? You know, and then I asked, is that a good contract? Now, in fact, we didn't learn that yet, but this is the reason it's not. Do I have a responsibility to teach you and to do my best to give you fair grades? That's part of my contract, right? And I get paid by the school to do that. Now, if I'm not happy with my salary, I could talk to the school. I could negotiate my contract for next semester, but whatever. I have a deal with the school. Could I go to Ealing today and say, Ealing, you know what? This is harder than I thought. I'm not going to do my job unless you give me more money. No, I can't do that. It wouldn't be fair, right?
I mean, you could do it after the semester.
No, I mean today.
Today, no.
Today, I'm going to go to Ealing and say, Ealing, if you don't pay me more, I won't finish teaching this semester. Crystal, can I do that?
I don't think so because you're already doing it, right? You already put your.
I have an existing duty, right? So I cannot use this promise to make a new contract. This isn't consideration. I already have to do it. And you can't say, I promise I'll study hard if you give me something. You already have a responsibility to study. You know, I have a responsibility to teach. You have a responsibility to study. And that's it. Famous case, the captain of a ship hires a crew of workers in London. And during the trip, 5 of the workers run off. And so the captain promises them, if you can sail the ship back to London, I'm going to give you guys the extra money that the 5 other workers would have earned. So they return safely to London, then a captain refuses to pay them. Did the captain have to pay them?
No.
Jordan, good. Why?
Because they already have a pre-existing duty, and then they want to,
What's their duty?
Their duty, yeah, to sail the ship back to London.
That's it. That's their duty. So you can't say pay me more for something I already have to do. Now, in this case, it's a little less, unfair than that. In this case, what happened is it was fishermen who sailed to Alaska, and their job was to sail to Alaska and fish. Then when they got there, they refused to work. And they said, you have to pay us more money. Now, the superintendent, the boss, had no choice. So the boss said, okay, fine. And they wrote up a new contract. And when they got back, the fishermen did not get more money. And the court said, yeah, of course you don't get more money. You made an agreement to go to Alaska and fish. You agreed, you signed a contract for this price. That's what you get. You don't get more than that. What about this? A 30-year-old man is living in Wuxi. He becomes very sick and he loses his job. He has no money and no place to live. And there's this really nice woman named Carlotta. Where's Carlotta? Carlotta, you there? Nice woman, Carlotta. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. So Carlotta, you see this 30-year-old man. He has no money, he has no place to live, and you run a hotel. So you see him in the park and you take him to your hotel and you take care of him. You give him a room, you give him food, you clean his clothes, whatever, until he dies. Now, when the man's family learns about this, they promise to pay you back, and then they never pay. So you sue them for the money. Are you going to get the money, Carlotta?
No,
Why not?
because the man didn't. There was no contract before he died that like you were doing something for something in return.
Right, right. So you gave him all of this valuable stuff, the room, the clothes, the food, but he never promised to give you anything. And after he was gone already, then his family. So the idea here, this was a case of the same facts from 1825. The problem here is moral obligation is not consideration. Now, this is slightly different. How is this different from the case we just looked at, where the fishermen went to Alaska and then said, we're not going to fish? Didn't they have a moral obligation?
No, they have a contract obligation.
Okay, good. Fishing in Alaska is not an ethics thing. It's not about good and bad or evil and right and wrong. It's not about that. It's about money. It's just a contract thing. They didn't have a moral obligation. But a moral obligation is not consideration anyway. Why not? Why isn't it, Junpyo? Why isn't moral obligation a good consideration?
I think it doesn't worth money, maybe.
Okay, good. It's not worth money, right? If you're a good person, what do you get?
If I'm a good person, I get maybe respect.
Maybe. Maybe you get respect, maybe you get friends, maybe you have kids, maybe you go to heaven. Who knows? But you don't get money, right? That's not what being a good person's about. What about this though? I work on a construction job, and one day a falling piece of wood is about to hit my boss. So I run over and I push my boss out of the way and I protect my boss, but the wood hits me. So I'm in the hospital now and it's very serious. And the boss comes to me in the hospital and says, David, I'm going to take care of you for the rest of your life. You saved my life, David. You saved my life and I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to give you money every month. And in fact, he did. He paid me every month until he died. But then when he died, his family stopped paying. And I sue the family. I say, listen, we have a contract. You guys have to pay me every month for the rest of my life. And the family says, well, but David, you didn't give any consideration. You know, you saved his life. And then after you saved his life, he promised to pay you. It's the same as this case we just looked at, Mills v. Wyman, where you saved someone's life and then after someone promised to pay you. It's the same thing. What do you think? Is it the same thing, Amar? No, Amar? Amar, I don't know if you're actually in class. Who can answer? What do you think? Anybody?
Sir, sorry, I got internet problem before, but what was the answer for Carlotta with your case before, like the Mills way?
Moral obligation is not consideration.
So, so she cannot sue the family.
Nope. They didn't promise her anything. They promised her something after that she took care of the guy, and after they promised her something. That's past.
But is that like unilateral contract, like one promise, one performance?
No, because they never made a contract with her. They never said, if you take care of our son, then we'll pay you. If they made that contract, then sure.
Okay.
But she did it. She just did it because she was a nice person.
I think the case that right now you're telling us about it is similar to this one.
So then the boss doesn't actually, the family doesn't have to pay him because
Yes.
he
Yes.
saved the life, and then the family never said, hey, if you save his life, then we'll pay you. But here's the problem. How could the family say that? Isaac, you there? No Isaac, no Amar? I don't like this game. This no camera, maybe they're here game. Tiffany. Tiffany.
What do you mean, no, Amar? I answered you twice.
What? I couldn't hear you.
I replied 2 times already.
Oh, now I can hear you. Okay. Amar. Amar, are you important to your family?
Yes, think so.
Okay, good. Now, if your family could make a contract, let's say they know that next semester I could save your life. They went to Crystal and she is a fortune teller and they told her next semester something's going to fall and David could save your life.
Yeah.
Do you think your family, and it's true, it's definitely true. Do you think your family would make a contract with me to save your life?
I don't think so.
No, they'll let you die?
No, like it depends. Like my family is kind of religions. They will like.
Yeah, we don't believe on that.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Let's say there's just some kind of proof.
Then yeah,
Forget about the fortune teller. There's proof. It's a fact. Something I could save your life next semester. And then they would definitely pay to save your life, right?
Yeah.
Sir,
yes.
There is something I don't know about the others, but Omar and me, we are in the same religion, and we don't believe that prediction.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is not about fortune telling.
Like prediction. This prediction, right?
Forget about the prediction. That's not the point. That's not the point. There's another legal fiction we have. This thing that isn't really true, but we say it's true. Just like objects can talk. Res ipsa loquitur. A fly on the wall can speak every language. When you put a letter in the mailbox, suddenly it was received across the country. We have these things that are not true. Here's another one. We can stop time. So in the law, we can stop time. So here's what happened in this story. I work on a construction job. One day, a falling piece of wood is about to hit my boss. We stop time. Now, there's a piece of wood in the air and my boss is there. And I say to my boss, hey, boss, I could save your life if you make a contract with me to pay me every month for the rest of my life. Would my boss say yes to save his life?
Sure,
Yes.
sure.
People will do anything to save their life. Will people do anything to save their child? Maybe. Probably. But not definitely. Will people do anything to save themselves? Yes. In the law, yes. So we stop time. I say to my boss, hey, I'll make a contract with you to save your life. He will say yes. So we now have a contract. Start time again. Now I push him out of the way. Do we have a good contract? Yes. This is moral obligation combined with an agreement to pay. Because if we could have stopped time when the block of wood was about to fall, defendant definitely would have made a contract. And therefore, this is a good contract. It is consideration. Even though in the real world, of course, it's past, there's no way we could have made this contract before. So that is good consideration.
What if the Mr. McGowan didn't offer anything?
Well, then he doesn't get anything.
So
why did Webb save his life? Because Webb was a good person.
Yes.
Just like the reason that Carlotta saved this man's life. That's it. Webb gets to go to heaven. That's it. He doesn't get anything. But then his boss promised him money. And that changed everything. because he would have made this contract 100%. He would have made it if he could have. So we'll stop time and say, yeah, you made that contract. Because we know he got a material benefit. And there's no question that he would have made the contract, so he got the contract. Now, I said earlier on in this course, last week or 2 weeks ago, that a promise is not a contract, right? Your promise is just something will or won't happen in the future, but it's not a contract. However, there's an exception. Sometimes a promise is a contract. Now, don't write this. Let's just look at this first, and then I'll give you a much easier way to understand this. Here's the rule, and this is very legalese. A promise which the promisor should reasonably expect to induce action or forbearance, and now you know this word, forbearance, on the part of the promisee or a third person, which does induce such action or forbearance, is binding if injustice can be avoided only by enforcement of the promise, and it may be limited as justice requires. Now, there's 3 parts to this. Let's break it into pieces. A promise, which the promisor should, we have this idea, should reasonably expect, will make someone do something or not do something, and which does make someone do something or not do something, is binding if injustice can be avoided. Now, let's say, for example, Jordan is a painter, and I think Jordan is a great painter. And I say, Jordan, I promise you, I think you're wasting your time in school. You can go back to school someday. Right now, you should be painting. You should spend all your time painting. And I will give you rent and money every month so you can live. Okay, I promise. And we even write it down. I promise I'll give you, 10,000 RMB a month to live as long as you just paint. Now, usually that would not be a contract because I'm promising to give you 10,000 a month, but what is he promising to give me? Are you promising to give me anything, Jordan?
No, only just not to go to work or something.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I don't get any benefit from that. You're not giving me anything. You're just, I'm telling you to paint, but I'm just saying I'll give you money. But here's the deal. If I say that, should I reasonably expect that Jordan will stop going to school? I promise you 10,000 RMB per month to just paint. And that's what you want to do anyway. Should I expect that you will then just paint?
No.
Why?
Maybe I have the other things to do. Or
no, I mean, come on. You want to be a painter. You don't want to go to school anyway. So I am your uncle. I'm your rich uncle. And I'm saying, I'll give you all this money. Just go paint. I should reasonably expect you might say, okay, cool. And did you do that? Yeah. You left school and you rented an apartment. Now, because you relied on this, now I have to keep the promise. So we call this promissory estoppel. Promissory estoppel is the one time when a promise has to be kept. There's another name for this, and the other name is called detrimental reliance. They're the same thing, promissory estoppel or detrimental reliance. So let's look at a couple cases to make sure we understand this. But there are 3 parts to this. This is what you need to know for the final. So I make a promise to someone. They believe me and they rely, and here's a key idea, they rely on the promise. And then if I break the promise, they will suffer damage. And the only way to fix this is you keep your promise, then your promise becomes a contract. So the classic example of this is the example that I just gave kind of with Jordan. So my uncle writes me a letter saying I should quit my job and write books of poetry. And he promises he'll take care of me. Based on his promise, I quit my job. But then my uncle dies and his friend, who's in charge of the estate, won't pay me anymore. Does he have to pay me? Well, let's go through this. Crystal, did my uncle make me a promise?
Yes.
What did he promise to give me?
Okay, I'll give you the money.
Yeah, he promised he'll take care of me financially. So he promised something. Did I believe him and rely on that promise?
Yes, you quit your job.
Yeah, I quit my job. Did I suffer damages when he broke his promise?
Yeah. Because
now I don't have my job. And therefore, in this case, this is the classic case for promissory estoppel in 1898. The facts are very much the same. A grandfather told his granddaughter, I'm going to give you money so you don't have to work anymore. And he wrote her a note. She said, okay. She quit her job, and then he died, and they tried to stop paying her. And the court said, you can't stop paying her. This is promissory estoppel. The grandfather made a promise. He should have foreseen, we see this word again, should have foreseen that the granddaughter would rely on his promise. That's it. Now, what are we giving each other here? The grandfather promised to give her money. What did she promise to give the grandfather? Did she promise, Crystal, to give the grandfather anything?
No.
No. But think about it, Crystal, think about it as if it's a unilateral contract. What if it's not bilateral? What if it's unilateral, where the grandfather promised to give her money? And what did the grandfather ask her to do in return for the money?
Quit her job. But
well, he didn't ask her to quit her job. He asked her, and this is subtle, I don't really expect anybody to get this. He asked her to trust him. That's what he asked. He didn't say it that way, but that's what he asked her to do. And did she, in fact, trust him? Yeah. How do we know? Because she quit her job. And so he received the trust. So in this sense, trust, what we would usually in law, we don't call it trust, we call it reliance. We don't really use the word trust. But this idea of reliance. Sorry?
Why this case is different than that Sideway v.
Hamer v. Sidway.
Yes, it's not the same thing?
No, because in Hamer v. Sidway, there was actual consideration. So what did the grandfather promise to give the grandchild in Hamer v. Sidway?
Money.
Money, correct. What did the child promise to give the grandfather? One word, it starts with F.
Forbearance?
Yes. Forbearance is a promise not to do something. What did that kid promise not to do?
Not smoke.
Smoke, drink, gamble. He had the right to do it, but he promised not to. That's forbearance. In this, this grandfather did not say, I'll give you money if you promise not to work. Now, what if I was the grandfather and Crystal is my granddaughter and I hate her job? Okay, she works in whatever, advertising, and I think it's terrible, I hate it. And I say, Crystal, I will give you money every month if you promise not to work in that job for 5 years. That would be like Hamer v. Sidway. Because she has the right to do it, but she's giving me her right. She's promising to not do it. Here, she's not promising to not do anything. She's not making a promise to me at all, but she's kind of giving me something, which is her trust. What in law we would call reliance. Now, this doesn't really happen. You know, this kind of case, this is very, very rare. But there is something that happens a lot. I'm offered a job in Beijing and I accept. So I quit my job at Donghua and I have all of my belongings professionally packed and shipped to Beijing. I buy an airplane ticket. You know, maybe I take my kids out of school. Maybe I go rent an apartment in Beijing and I'm ready to move. And then the company calls and says they've changed their mind and they can't offer me the job. And I'm like, but I just spent all this money. I just gave up my apartment in Shanghai. I rented an apartment in Beijing. I shipped everything. I mean, how could you do this? And they say, David, we're so sorry. We changed our mind. I sue them using promissory estoppel. Will I win? Let's go through this. Tiffany, did the company make a promise to me? I can't hear you. No volume, I can't hear you. Oh, maybe there's a problem with your mic. Nope. Okay, you play with your microphone. Unless you suddenly went mute. That'd be terrible.
Hello?
Oh, now I can hear you.
Okay,
Okay.
I switched the mic.
Okay, so now I'm offered a job, right? That's the promise. They promised me a job. They offered me a job, and we know what an offer is. If I say yes, we have a contract. That's what an offer is. Did I believe them and rely on their promise?
That's true. Yes. Yes. Rely
Right?
on.
And there's lots of evidence, right? I quit my job. I moved my things to Beijing. I bought an airplane ticket. This all proves that I trusted them. Did I suffer harm when they broke their promise?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's financial loss.
Definitely financial harm, maybe emotional harm, maybe. Is there any way to avoid injustice besides giving me the job?
To reimburse.
I'm not sure. Probably.
What else
Yes.
could they give me besides the job?
Transportation fees.
What do you mean? Transportation where?
To the workplace.
What workplace? They're not giving me the job. They
So can you
changed
get
their
reimbursed?
mind. They can't offer me the job now.
I don't know.
What could they give me beside the job that would make everything all better?
Reimbursement.
Reimbursement? How much?
Yeah.
Could they give me my job at Donghua back?
Anna.
They don't have the power to do that. They cannot make things. My job at Donghua is not just about money. You know, I worked hard to get that job because that's the job I wanted and I like that job. They can't just give me that job back. There's no way to avoid injustice except they keep their promise. So they have to keep their promise. And this is the situation where we see this promissory estoppel a lot more. They have to give me a good faith opportunity. They have to now hire me. So now this is a difficult situation. If somebody makes you a promise, you do need evidence that you relied on the promise. If somebody makes you a promise and you don't rely, then you can't sue them for promissory estoppel. Okay, there's one more rule we need to talk about in consideration. Consideration is the biggest one. There's one more rule, and it's a very old rule called privity. And privity is important. So privity says only the parties to a contract can sue and be sued. Actually, that's very simple. What that means is if I make a contract with, I'll make a contract with Isaac. Isaac, are you there? Oh, Isaac. No, Isaac? Okay, Carlotta, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, Carlotta, I make a contract with you. and you break the contract. Okay, I make a contract with you to buy 1,000 computers. Okay, you sell computers, and I make a contract with you and you break it. Can I sue your father?
I'm underage in this.
No, you're not underage. Why, are you
No.
16? How old are you?
No, but like sue my father.
Yeah,
Why?
can I? Your father's really rich. I don't want to sue you. I want to sue your father.
No, because I'm not like working for him or his company. I'm not an employee, and I'm
I know,
not.
but he's your father.
Yeah, but I don't think so, because he's not my employer and I'm not under his company and I'm not under like his supervision because I'm not underage.
Okay. What if you want to sue me? Can you sue my sister, who's really rich? She works for Microsoft. She's really rich. Can you sue her?
I don't think so.
No. And that's privity. That's it. The people in a contract can sue each other, and that's it. I could sue you. You can sue me. That's it. That's the rule of privity.
Sir, I have a funny question about relationship. Like, for example, like boyfriend and girlfriend, they promise between each other, and then someone break the promise, and then can the other party sue the one?
Well, I mean, it's not a very specific example. A boyfriend and a girlfriend make a promise to each other. Like, what kind of promise? Are you talking about a business deal?
I will be loyal to you, and I will be loyal to you also.
Is that worth money? Is that valuable in the law?
No, it's not valuable.
No, it's not valuable. It's, if anything, I would call that moral. It is moral to say I'll be loyal to you, but it's not valuable in the law.
Okay.
And also, when you say loyal, it sounds to me like you're saying physically loyal, which means now you're talking about contracts for touching, and there is no value to that.
Maybe Jody is ready for it.
So there is one exception to this, which is called an agency exception. Now, we haven't learned agency yet. We're going to learn that probably in 2 weeks. But let's say that I want to buy a house. Okay, Junpyo, can you hear me? You there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. I want to buy a house, Junpyo, and you are my real estate agent. So you show me a bunch of houses. Okay, we work together for a few weeks and you show me houses. And we look at Jordan's house. And I say, this is it, Junpyo. This is the house I want to buy. And you say, great. So Junpyo, you get all these contracts, the documents, you know, so you and I have worked together for weeks. You found all these houses. You showed me the houses. And I say, I'm going to buy Jordan's house. Now, I sign a contract with Jordan to buy his house for whatever, $1 million. And then after about 2 weeks, Jordan changes his mind and he doesn't want to sell me the house. Now, according to the rule of privity, this contract is between Jordan and I. I could sue Jordan for the money, right, Junpyo?
Yeah.
And Jordan, if I broke the contract, I said, I changed my mind. I don't want to buy your house. Jordan could also sue me for the deposit. But Junpyo, is this fair to you? You just spent 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever showing me all these houses. How do you earn money, Junpyo? Do you know how real estate agents earn money?
They take a portion of the
Yes,
money. Yeah.
exactly. Now, if I break the contract with Jordan, you lose money. And if Jordan breaks the contract with me, you lose money. So, are you really a part of our contract?
Yes, because I will lose something valuable, which is money, if your contract is not working.
Correct. So because you're an agent, even though your name isn't on the contract, you actually have this privity also. So it's just between the people in the contract and an agent. An agent could have privity. So usually we're talking about a real estate agent, sometimes a travel agent, sometimes an employment agent, sometimes like a talent agent with modeling, or if you're an artist, things like that. So that is now everything about consideration. Let's review this quickly. We have a definition. Consideration is the price paid for a promise. We have a test. What did the parties give each other, and is it valuable? We know this sentence. Consideration must be sufficient, and sufficient means valuable, but it need not be adequate, and adequate means equal. These are the first three things we know about consideration: the definition, the test, and this idea that it has to be valuable, but it doesn't have to be equal. We also have these four rules about part payments, past consideration, and forbearance, and the rule that $1 or 1 RMB or 1 yen or 1 bolivar or 1 peso, it's never good consideration. So we also have those rules. And then we have a couple of other things. We also know the pre-existing duty versus moral duty. If you have a responsibility to do something already, that can't be consideration because you already have to do it. But if you do something just because it's right or it's good or it's, the proper thing to do in your religion or whatever, that's not consideration. And then finally, we learned promissory estoppel, that it is possible that your consideration could be trust, what we call reliance, that relying on a promise could be consideration. If somebody makes a promise to you and you rely on it and then they break the promise, that's called promissory estoppel. Finally, we just learned privity. Only the parties in a contract can sue each other, except there is an exception in agency. Lots and lots of great, exciting stuff. Now, the last two parts of contracts, remember there are 5 elements of a valid contract. What are the 5 elements of a valid contract? Crystal? You're muted.
Sorry, offer, acceptance, consideration, intention, and certainty.
Good. Okay, we've done the big 3. Offer, acceptance, and consideration are the big ones. Intention and certainty are much, much easier to understand. So let's take, let's get 5 minutes. I'll let you guys go in about 5 minutes. So what does this mean? There's a really simple way to say this, which is you can't make a contract by accident. You have to make a contract on purpose. Okay, in order to make a contract, the parties must intend to make a contract. You can't make a contract by accident. And the test is the same fly on the wall test that we already learned. So how do we know if 2 people intended to make a contract? Let's say I have a contract that says, I will sell you, 100 computers for $1,000 each. And then I go up to Nicola and I say, hey, Nicola, you have a beautiful signature. I just want to see your signature. Can you sign your name? And you sign it. And I say, ha, 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 now we have a contract. Can I do that?
You cannot.
No, of course not. He didn't intend to form the contract, right? So you can't make a contract by accident. It's just not possible. Now, of course, lying to someone is totally different. That's not usually what happens. Usually what happens is that it's a mistake. So let's say I have 2 cars. One car is a Toyota from 1985. And one car is a Maserati, 2020 Maserati. Tiffany, do you know what is a Maserati?
No.
No? How about do you know what is a Rolls Royce?
I guess I don't think so. Not
Okay, how about a Lamborghini?
Okay.
You know what a Lamborghini is?
It's all cars. I
They're
don't
all
know.
expensive cars. So I have two cars. I have a Lamborghini that probably costs like 300,000 RMB, and I have a Toyota from 1985. And I say, Tiffany, I'll sell you my car for 50,000 RMB. And we make a contract. I'll sell you my car for 50,000 RMB today at 3 o'clock at the front gate of Donghua, payment in cash, you know, all the terms. And you say, cool, great deal. And you sign your name. But here's the problem. You think I mean the Lamborghini. I think I mean the Toyota. Do we have a contract?
I don't think so because it's so precise and clear.
Right. So based on this objective test, the court is going to look at what the parties did to show whether they intended to create relations. Now, if the parties had some private intentions, like I know you think I mean the Lamborghini. I drive the Lamborghini every day to school. I know you think that. You don't even know that I have a Toyota. And then tomorrow I come at 3 o'clock with my Toyota to the gate and I say, ha, 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 Tiffany, this is my car. You made a contract to buy my car, and this is my car. Did the fly on the wall know that I was secretly meaning my Toyota? No. The fly on the wall didn't know that this was my hidden meaning. Only things that are openly said and done. So let's look at an example of this. I have 1 more minute for my example. Okay. Let's go to Nicola. I'm the manager of a construction company and my 1-year contract will end soon. So I want to meet with the president. Nicola, you're the president of the company. And so you're very, very busy. And so my contract, I didn't have a chance to meet with you and my annual contract ended. So I'm very concerned. And Nicola, I go into your office and you're like, David, I'm very busy. And I say, Nicola, listen, I don't have a contract right now. So we have to go on an assignment right now. Is my contract going to be renewed? And this is what Nicola says to me. He says, David, go ahead. You're all right. Get your men out and don't let that worry you. That's what he says. So I assume that this means my contract is going to be renewed. So I start working. And then later the day, Nicola says, David, listen, I'm sorry. Your contract is going to be canceled. You misunderstood. Do I have a contract for next year, Nicola?
I think so.
What did the fly on the wall see?
I think the fly see, I am saying that to you that is gonna be renewed.
So the fly on the wall saw me say, do I have a contract next year? And the fly saw you say, go ahead, you're all right. Don't let that worry you. Yeah. So
Yes.
we have a contract, right? Plaintiff's contract is renewed because of the words that defendant spoke, regardless of how you meant them. It doesn't matter what you meant. You could have said no. You could have said, we need to talk about it. There are a lot of things you could have said.
Mm-hmm.
You said, go ahead, you're all right. Don't worry. That's all very positive language. So my contract is renewed.
So, David, when we studying this kind of case, we must pass through the considerations, all tests, and then the another one. Yeah, the consideration, then the intention, the acceptance, and so on.
When I give you a test on the final exam that says, you know, person A and person B have a contract, and here's the situation. It's a contract to buy, you know, pencils or coffee or whatever, you know, and then here's what happened. Person A broke the contract, or person B was put in jail, or whatever happened. You know, person A went bankrupt, or whatever story, you're going to have to go through, okay, was there an offer? Well, here's the test. and here's the definition, and here's the 3 tests, and it's clear, definite, precise. Yes, there's an offer. Step 2, is there an acceptance? Well, the definition is this, and the test is this, but there's also the mirror rule, and there's also this rule. You don't have to list every single thing, only the things that are important. But yes, you will definitely have to go through offer, acceptance, consideration, intention, and certainty to prove that there is a contract. And that's why this is a huge part of the final exam. You know, because we're not even done. We still have a little more to do. And then this is all contracts 1. There's still contracts 2 and contracts 3. So the contracts, now those are not as long. You know, those are much shorter. But contracts is a huge part of business law. You know, torts and contracts are the big things. And then after this, we'll take about 2 weeks and work on company law. We'll take about 2 weeks and work on employment law. We'll go through agency law. We will do some other subjects, but those are much more simple than the key to business, which is really knowing how to write a good contract.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, good. So we will stop there for today. There is, I don't think I put a quiz up yet for this week. Maybe I did, but I'll check again. And then, yeah, if you guys have any problems, just reach at me. Let me, yes.
About the coursework, when the score will be out?
Oh, I don't know. I'm pretty busy these days. You're going to have to give me a little time on that.
And also like the thing that I just replaced the coursework to the business, the quiz 5. Do I need to do the quiz 5 or not?
No, if you already handed in your coursework instead of quiz 5, that is just fine. Then I gave you a grade based on the coursework.
I want to ask you about the HRM exam. We can't do it until tomorrow.
What?
HRM exam.
Yeah, but that's been available all weekend.
Yeah, but you said in the group that we can do it until Tuesday.
No, it's available. No, you could do it Friday or Saturday or Sunday or Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay.
It's been up since Friday. Send me a message if it's not available. It should be available.
No. I just confirm.
Yeah, you can take it right now. Okay, Jody is now the host. I will see you guys next week.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.